Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, I had a voice for radio. So today, I am showing you a deck, which I didn't really think was good, mostly because I didn't really think about it. But it is good. It is a deck with which the lovely Tom Hall, very good Pokemon player, got through day 1 into day 2 of Worlds, which is pretty impressive. It is a deck with which my good friend Tommy Roberts just went and won a League Cup. And when very few people are playing a deck, but one of them gets through day 1 of the World Championships and another one wins a League Cup with it, that's a point where I start going, hang on a second, this might be legit. And it's all based around, wait for it, Shining Lugia. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. I profile every new Pokemon, and even if they're definitely not good, they get chucked in a little roundup video of a few others. But I look at every new card, and a bunch of people often say, come on, Ross, there's no way this card's ever going to be good. Shining Lugia is not a card that anyone thought was going to be central to a really good, high-level Pokemon deck, and yet it is, which is further proof. Know what every card does, think about every card just like we do on this channel, because you don't know which cards are going to be good in the future, and really good players and really good deck builders make decks that we just didn't see coming. Now, we got 2 attacks here. First of all, free energy, 60 damage if the opponent's active Pokemon has ability. It does 120, which actually is really not that bad, because an awful lot of decks around at the moment do have abilities on their main Pokemon. And then for 4 energy, you just do a flat 130, but you've got to discard an energy. And it's for colorless energy, so you can use double colorless, or indeed combine it with basically whatever else you want. Plus, it's got 130 HP, so stuff like Zoroark and Golisopod aren't going to be able to get a one-hit KO. And it's got a weakness to lightning, but who's playing Lightning at the World Championships? Basically nobody. Along with a resistance to fighting, and who's playing fighting at the World Championships? A lot of people, because Buzzwole is nuts good. And then we look at it and we go, well, hang on a second, that all sounds well and good, but you need to have a way to accelerate the energy there. You're not just going to play double colorless. And you're right, you play double colorless, but you also play Malamar. Malamar sits on a bench, and doesn't have to, but it really should be. And once during your turn for each Malamar, you may attach a Psychic Energy card from your discard pile to one of your benched Pokemon. So now, 2 Malamar, 1 double colorless energy, and you've got enough energy on a Lugia here, and now it's starting to look pretty good, ladies and gentlemen. Now we've got a deck that we can run with, a deck which actually seems like it could work. And don't get me wrong, we've got other attackers here, although they're all played as one-offs. This is basically just rolling with Shining Lugia. Because you're going to sit there and 2-hit KO a Buzzwole, but that's fine. Because Buzzwole's doing naff all with Jet Punch, you take the first KO and okay, they get B-String. But even with B-String, they've got to use something like a Knuckle Impact to get a 1-hit KO. And then they're 1-hit KOing for 1 prize, you're 2-hit KOing for 2 prizes, so you're essentially drawing, but you took the first 2 prizes, that sounds good. Something like a Zoroark isn't 1-hit KOing you. Sure, they might play 1 or 2 Professor Kukui in their deck, but they're not going to play many, unless they're playing Devoured Field, and the vast majority of them weren't. They're not 1-hit KOing for 1 prize. And you're not 1-hit KOing for 2 prizes. So you get 2 prizes in 2 turns, they get 1 prize in 2 turns. Doesn't take a genius to figure out how that prize exchange is going to go down. And they were really the main attackers at the World Championships. Something like a Garbodor, you're getting a 1-hit KO. You've just got to make sure you don't play too many items. Something like a Baby Buzzwole, hey Nick, they're not getting a 1-hit KO. But you are getting a 1-hit KO. This just matches up well. Little Pokemon, you're getting a 1-hit KO there. Usually not, but some of them will. Bigger Pokemon, they're not usually getting a 1-hit KO, but you usually are getting a 2-hit KO with them. But you're getting 2 prizes, and they're getting 1. This is really really good, a lot of people have been sleeping on Shining Lugia. It's a good card, we just haven't had good ways to accelerate energy. That's where Malamar comes in. Now, there were a bunch of one-off Pokemon in this deck. There was Necrozma. Sometimes you just need a big Pokemon that can smash. Also, you need a GX attack. And Black Ray GX puts 100 damage on each of your opponent's GX and EX, bringing them all into KO range for Shining Lugia. So you essentially use one Black Ray GX, and then you can KO anything with Lugia. That seems pretty good to me. We see one copy of Tapu Koko and one copy of Latios, both of which are just for spreading some damage around in the early game. Or any game, I suppose, where you're not ready. If you don't have Malamar up and you're not ready for Lugia, you're playing double colourless energy anyway, so you can just spread damage around with these two. The theory here, hopefully, is that you can spread enough damage around that you bring everything into KO range for Shining Lugia, and then Shining Lugia gets a KO every turn. But you're also playing one Tapu Lele here, which has got the really good magical swap attack. If you do end up spreading a bunch of damage around, maybe with Tapu Koko, maybe with Latios, maybe with Necrozma, you can then spread it around with Tapu Lele, switch it around, and just go and get some KOs. Move the damage around to KO whatever it is that's threatening you at this particular moment. It's a really good card in this particular deck. We also see one copy of Oranguru just because draw power is good. And this is clearly a deck where you are already struggling to get out your Malamar, so you don't want to be focusing on stage 1s like Octillery. That's just introducing inconsistency that you don't need. Obviously, we play Tapu Lele here to search out our supporters like every deck does. Pretty much every deck. And then one copy of Giratina, the promo. And it's for Greninja Break. Greninja is pretty much the only deck that just comes out, other than something like Raichu, which just no one's playing, which out and out smashes this. You have a very bad matchup against Greninja. So you play a Giratina. Fine. Sounds good. Glad we got that out of the way. In terms of energy, 4 double colourless, both for Shining Lugia and for your spreading attackers like Latios, and then just a bunch of psychic energy. And then in terms of the trainer cards here, it's a very straightforward trainer line. There aren't really any tricks, except one. There is one trick, and it's played as a 4 of, it's Shrine of Punishment. Because you see, I've been talking in this video so far about spreading damage around, and then either 2-hit KOing with Shining Lugia, or kind of 1-hit KOing after spreading damage around. But you see, you've also got Shrine of Punishment here. It puts 1 damage counter on each Pokemon EX and GX between turns. And yeah, you've got to play Tapu Lele, and yes, you've got your 1 Necrozma. But generally here, this is a non-GX deck. So you play Shrine of Punishment and it just works. Maybe you combine it with Tapu Koko and Latios to spread a bunch of damage around. And then of course you've still got Tapu Lele to move the damage afterwards. Maybe you combine it with Black Ray GX to take multiple KOs. Or maybe it just sits there doing a bunch of damage because Shining Lugia doesn't quite hit for enough. But now with Shrine of Punishment, eventually you will. Shining Lugia wasn't good enough. Malamar really came along and let you get the energy on fast enough, but it still wasn't quite good enough. But Shrine of Punishment spreading a bit of damage around, that, ladies and gentlemen, is what makes Shining Lugia good enough. And then after that, it's all very straightforward. There's a bunch of Guzma because you need to bring Pokemon off the bench and KO them. Although you can spread damage around so well in this deck, you could just try and stall something in the active. We see both N, Cynthia, and Professor Sycamore because they are the best supporter cards we've got at the moment in terms of drawing cards and getting set up. In terms of the ratio here, we're playing more Professor Sycamore than anything else, 4-2-2, just because you really need to get set up here. It's super important. 1 copy of Rescue Stretcher to recover your Pokemon. Maybe a Malamar have to go down early, or maybe just your one-off attackers because you want to use them again. Couple of Field Blower. Garbodor is an issue here. Now, obviously, in the new post-rotation format, Garbodor isn't an issue, but stuff like Choice Band absolutely still is. Speaking of which, you play a bunch of Choice Band because you need to do a whole bunch of damage. And with Choice Band and Shrine of Punishment, things change round very, very quickly. Because with the pair of them, you're doing 170, which is pretty good. I mean, that alone is a Tapu Lele. But then Shrine of Punishment just keeps on rolling, ladies and gentlemen. It's really quite good. A couple of Floatstone to stop your Pokemon getting stuck in the active. And then in terms of search, we've got 3 Ultra Ball, but 4 Mysterious Treasure, because the vast majority of your Pokemon can be searched out with Mysterious Treasure, and you only need to discard 1 card from your hand rather than 2. Yes, Malamar wants a Psychic Energy in the discard, but you're rarely going to have 2 Psychic Energy in your hand at the same time as an Ultra Ball, so Mysterious Treasure is better. You can't get Shining Lugia or a Rangaroo with this, which does kind of suck. But you can get your Malamar and your Tapu Lele, and in the early game, that's got to be your priority here. Shining Lugia is a basic, you can get it later. Yes, Tom Hall used it to get through day 1 of Worlds, which was pre-rotation, but Tommy Roberts just used it to win a League Cup, and that's post-rotation. This deck loses very, very little post-rotation. I mean, all the cards I've talked about here, you lose Giratina, which is irrelevant, because it blocks abilities from Break Pokemon, all of which have rotated. You then lose Floatstone, Professor Sycamore, and N. But so does every other deck. And every other deck has got to try and cope with it. It is a deck that will do very, very well post-rotation. It's still good. It's still relevant. But I want to hear from you guys. Do you take this deck seriously? Is this deck on your radar? Have you heard about it? Are you going to be testing it? Let me know in the comment section. Go nuts. But do remember the rule. Be nice. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at the Wassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all of that, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. And if you're upset that I showed you a pre-rotation list, take out Giratina, fix the supporter line, replace Floatstones, boom, post-rotation list. But by far the most important thing, as always, is to look after yourselves until next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.